This May, in case you didn't know, is Mental Health Awareness Month. And so in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we are going to be doing Mental Health Mondays, where each Monday we invite somebody to come and chat with us and give us goodies and tidbits and ideas to help promote healthy mental health. See, Kayla, I think you might have done an even better introduction than I could have. But today's guest is a beloved a beloved cheerleader of all things Arrow and Arrow employees and staff and residents. And so Michael Buckley, who is a life coach, and I'll give you a chance, Buck, he goes by Buck, to talk a little bit more about what he does. But he has worked with all of our leaders in various points or stages in their time with us, and is very, very helpful in guiding us through how to manage our emotions, manage our thoughts, manage our feelings in order to get the best results. And so we thought we would invite Buck to come on today and kind of talk a little bit in our very first Mental Health Monday. So Buck, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Amanda. That was a beautiful introduction. And thank you to Kayla for inviting me. And thank you to Miles for that amazing music that put me in such a good mood. I want to come to Arrow Happy Hour all the time. I'm in such a good mood because he was singing God Bless America. Like, that just got me super excited. So hello, Arrow residents. I hope you're having a wonderful day. My name is Michael Buckley. As Amanda said, I am a life coach. I have had the great pleasure of working with many of the Arrow senior living leaders and staff for the past 2 years. And when they asked me to come on and talk a little to you, I said, of course, this is like my favorite stuff in the world to talk about. So I'm so grateful that you're taking some time to watch today or to just listen today, and for giving me this opportunity to spend some time with you. I thought that I would start by telling you my emotional health story to kind of give you some insight how I became interested in the field. And like Amanda said, I'm also going to teach you some of the concepts and principles that I give to my clients. So hopefully you leave here with some tools and tips. I do tend to speak quickly. So I just want you to know, if I speak too quickly and you want to ask me a question, you can email me, or you can have, someone at Arrow email me. My email is heymichaelbuckley@gmail.com. I can give you some journaling prompts. I can give you some direction if you're working on something and you want some coaching insight. So again, I'd love to hear from you if you have a question or just want to share something you're working on with me. So some background on me: I've always been very interested in human behavior and the brain and the science of happiness and relationships and success. So basically, I've always been very interested in life and our human experience. And I remember as a kid very much identifying as an overthinker and an overfeeler. I always felt like my mind was racing and I had lots of thoughts and I had lots of dramatic emotions and I wasn't sure what to do with them. And I always joke with my clients that it seems ridiculous that we teach children math and science, but we don't teach them emotional intelligence. And then we wonder why we're 40 or 60 or 80, and we feel like we have zero control over our lives and our emotions. And it's basically because no one taught us how to think, how to feel. And no one taught us that we have this amazing thing called the prefrontal cortex, which is the human part of our brain, that it is sitting there and it's dying to be used. And it's waiting for us to direct it and supervise it and tell us how we want to think, how we want to feel, how we want to behave. So I remember as a kid, I just loved thinking, and I loved thinking about my thinking, and I loved emotions. But it took me many years, I think till I was 39 or so, to realize that emotions are a skill. And we all need to understand that and get better at it, like math, like science, emotions. So I got my degree in psychology. I don't remember knowing what I wanted to do with my life, which is so funny that we ask 17-year-olds to decide what they want to do with their lives and spend hundreds of thousands of their parents' dollars. That's another whole topic. But so I just knew I liked psychology. So I picked psychology. But when I finished my degree, I wasn't interested in becoming a therapist. I wasn't interested in diagnosing people. I was very interested in cognitive psychology, though. And that basically is the belief that people don't need to be fixed. People just need to be understood. And so that's one of my presuppositions I have with clients or anybody that I meet. I don't think as human beings we are damaged, we are broken, we are wounded, we are toxic. I think we're all just processing our life to the best of our abilities. I like to say, I think we're doing our best, and sometimes our best is terrible. And that one thought helps me navigate the world with so much compassion for myself and for everyone I meet. I did become interested in life coaching around 1999. I bought a book called Life Coaching or something generic like that. But it was, life coaching is such a goofy field. Like when I heard about it, I'm like, this seems silly. And they want me to pay to do this training to become my brain convinced me it sounded silly to be a life coach. And so I took my life in other directions. And even now, my father will say to me, why don't you tell people you're a consultant? That sounds better. My father loves to give me opinions about my life choices, and I'm sure many of you like to do with your children. So even though I'm 44 years old, my father has many opinions about my finances and my tattoos and my life. So anyway, I hired my first life coach in 2016. My life really hit a wall. Like my career was not going well. My 13-year marriage ended in divorce. Oh, and then my 15-year-old dog died. And then my 12-year-old dog died. Oh, and I was a drunk. So that was just the cherry on top. So it was like career wasn't going well. Marriage ended. Dogs were dying. And I was a drunk. So again, not only were these circumstances, things happening and upsetting me, I chose to not even attempt to process any actual emotions. I just drank. So I drank all my emotions or lots of shopping. There wasn't enough sweaters and pants and shoes in the world. So I was definitely, as we say, looking for external solutions to my internal problems. And here I was, 39 years old, a generally happy, glass half full, successful person, and yet I was a mess. And that was the part that was doubly upsetting. So not only was my life not going well, but I was beating myself up terribly for being as upset and troubled by it all that I was. And I had read 25 years of self-help books. I had a degree in psychology. I was a pretty smart guy, and I had lots of blessings that I could have been counting, but I chose to not think better, to not feel better, to not do better. And I realized that I was a consumer of self-help. I was a student of psychology, but I had never really done any great work on myself. I was living very haphazardly and just kind of taking life as it came versus creating the life that I wanted for myself. And within 5 minutes of hiring a life coach, this woman who was very annoying to me at the time was asking me all these questions that were both annoying and helpful. She was asking me things like, well, why aren't you figuring out your life? And I was like, I don't know, leave me alone. And she was like, well, how is it serving you not to figure it out? And that was so interesting because I was like, until that point, I was like, no, it's not. Until she pointed out, no, you're loving this. I was like, I kind of am. So again, what was I getting out of being a drunk versus allowing myself to have some uncomfortable emotions? It was like someone was calling me out, and it wasn't a friend or a family member, but a genuinely curious coach with, no opinion. She had no horse in the race of my life, but she was wondering, why are you so seemingly comfortable defaulting to being a victim of what's happening to you? So having a life coach just forced me to take ownership over all my successes, all of my failures, all of my emotions, all of my decisions. And I really deconstructed all the limiting beliefs about myself that I had for 39 years. And I started over with only thoughts and beliefs about myself that were empowering and amazing versus the weird, dramatic things I'd been telling myself unconsciously for the first 39 years of my life. And I realized that I was the problem and I was the solution. And that was so liberating because guess what? You can solve that. If the problem was my dead mother or my ex-spouse or my something else, not much I can do about that. So I love being a life coach because I am the product of life coaching. I very much benefited from having a life coach and then spent the next year training and doing certification. And now I'm in my 4th year coaching and I love it so much. And it is so fulfilling and totally in line with my strengths, my core values, my greater life purpose. So that's just some insight how I came to do the work that I'm doing. And I do want to give you guys some tips and tools I use with myself and my clients, and you can start doing this right away. And again, if I say something and you're like, huh? Or you say something in a week from now, you're like, what did he say? Again, heymichaelbuckley@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Number 1 tip. Journal, journal, journal. I'm sure some of you keep a journal, but this is one of the single most important things we can do to stay mentally healthy. I was just watching an interview with singer Judy Collins. I've looked at life from both sides now. Judy Collins, Amazing Grace, Judy Collins. She's 80 years old, and the interviewer said, "What is the key to your life?" And she said, journaling. And I said, thank you very much, Judy Collins, because journaling is like going to the gym for your brain. Seriously. It's like we've got 60 to 80,000 thoughts every day going around up there, and we've got to put them down on paper. And once we see it, then we can decide what we can do with it. Some thoughts we will keep, others we need to stop thinking, especially if it's painful about yourself or your past or someone in your family. When I'm coaching someone, sometimes they'll say something that's so heavy and so dramatic. And I'll always think, and I'll say to them, wow, there is no upside to thinking that. And just because you've been thinking something for so long, it feels true, it's believable to you, but it does not serve you in any way to be thinking that thought. Examples of thoughts with no upside. COVID-19 shouldn't have happened. Zero upside to that. It did happen. So, it makes no sense to think it shouldn't have happened. My kids should call me more. I thought of a thought some of you might, my kids should call me more. I mean, you can think that, but notice how that feels. What if you thought, my kids call me as much as they want and that's okay? Oof. That thought feels a lot better. So the more we start coaching ourselves and directing ourselves, our brain is less likely to be a runaway train of woe is me thinking. So again, the thing about COVID and the kids calling, when we argue with reality, we lose every time. COVID is happening. Your child is not calling. Again, you can argue with it or you could accept it. So imagine if you were aware and you did that and you can stop doing that, there's a lot less suffering. Now, again, if you're trying to coach yourself and give yourself a pep talk in your brain, it's fine, but your brain always outsmarts you. And your brain will always go back to that primitive negative thought of, nope, you're wrong, this sucks. COVID is terrible, my kids don't love me. So again, you've got to direct your brain. And we can't control the thoughts that come into our head, but we can 100% control if we choose to believe them or not, if we choose to act on them or not. So when I start working with people, I like to have my clients write down, like, this is what I think of myself. This is what I think of my life. This is what I think of my spouse, my children, my contribution to the world. Go all the way. And then next to it, or on the next couple pages, this is what I want to think about my life. This is what I want to think about my relationship. This is what I want to think about my children. And sometimes it's very different and very jarring. And all of our thoughts are optional. And again, think about getting older. If we think getting old is terrible, it's terrible. If we think getting old is a privilege, it's a privilege. I get to decide, the luxury of choice. So it's amazing how at 40, 50, 60, 80, we continue to suffer by telling ourselves the same painful thoughts, telling the same painful story over and over again. So as you start writing, do a lot of this is what I think. This is the story I've been telling for many years. And now this is the story I'm going to tell from now on. What sounds better? What feels better? What feels better? And this is what you can do every day in your journaling. Like if you told me to write about COVID, I could write about how I haven't left the house in 2 months and how I haven't hugged anybody. And it stinks that my undefeated soccer team didn't get to finish the season and Celine Dion canceled the concerts and all the season tickets I paid for sports are canceled. All true. Or I could tell you, this has been such a growth opportunity for me, and I've loved the company of myself. I'm taking many online courses. I actually love shopping online, so I might never go into a store again. And I think that my life is going to be so much richer and more intentional because of this time in my life. See how I could tell you either which one am I going to stick to? I'm going to stick to the one that feels better. The second story is so much better. And our brains are very prone to negative. So don't be annoyed that your brain is always telling you things like, this is terrible, you're not doing it right, other people don't like me, blah, blah, blah. It's amazing how our brain loves to beat us up and warn us about danger and uncomfortable emotions that are out there in the world. So the power of journaling really tells your brain where you want it to go. And you guys have lived. I mean, come on. You've lived long and full lives. So if you want to use this time to look back and write about it, that would be so lovely. Write your life story. Write about the loves of your life. Write about your family, your accomplishments, the world that you've seen. And if anything comes up that feels painful, you can use the writing to shift your perspective. The only way the past exists is in our thoughts about it now. That's all the past is. There is no old pain, only what you're currently thinking. So you get to decide what you are going to make your past mean. So I'm all, as a life coach, for staying present focused. Like that's another thing. I always want to be present focused. This is a great life skill. If I'm present focused to get good at that, if I get good at that, I'm never worried about the future or I'm upset about the past. I'm just here. But that's another skill. But if you've got anything from the past that's keeping you up at night or troubling, or you keep telling the same repetitive story of how it all went down, this is a great opportunity to clean it up in your brain. What will I keep from this event or this relationship that is powerful and strengthening, and what will I let go of? And that's your story. And you get to tell it any way you want. So, just think about that when you're starting to journal. Like, that's a good starting point. This is my life. This is how I currently see it. This is how I want to see it. Also, think about one sentence, like as a jumping off point, like, I want to describe the life I've lived in one sentence. What is it? Ooh, that's so good. I love that. Think about write it down. I want to describe my life in one sentence. This is it. Think about your legacy. What do you want to leave behind in the world? This is your message to the world. Write it down. Live in line with it every day from now until, and pass it on. So journaling, again, very important. Think of this as doing mental aerobics. And I will give you some more suggestions for writing prompts, but again, email me too. So that's tip number one, write it down, write it down, write it down, clean up your thinking. Number two, and this is just quick, and this kind of speaks to that, stop trying to manipulate your circumstances to feel better. Oof, this is huge. So again, our feelings are caused by our thoughts. No one tells us this. And then we get in the bad habit of trying to change people or things or wait for COVID to be over to feel differently about it. And that gives all of our power away. And we're simply living out the effect of the world and the good stuff that happens to us and the crap that happens to us. But that's not it. We cannot outsource our feelings. I report this on the news. I repeat, we cannot outsource our feelings. So it's a great emotional health exercise to get in the practice of seeing everything as neutral and then deciding what you want to think and feel about it. Otherwise, your brain is telling you what to think. It's stuck on an old thought loop. This is how I am. This is how the world is. This is how I react to and respond to things. Nope. At any moment at age 25 or 85, you can choose a new set of habits, new thought patterns, and new behaviors. So if you can adopt the mindset of I'm happening to my life versus my life is happening to me, this will really make your year so much more fulfilling. So focus on your thoughts, the sentences in your brain, and less on your circumstances. Like that's that, and you bring it on. Like life is like, if you say bring it on, I'm equipped to handle anything. Oof, I can handle anything. Otherwise, I'm just waiting to see how life goes, and then maybe I'll show up and handle it. Nope, I'm equipped to handle anything. Bring it on. I am happening to my life, not the other way around. My next tip is become a master of your emotions. And this is something Amanda kind of talked about that I love to work on with people. So when I work with people, we really focus on emotions because emotions are so important to us. Everything we do or we don't do is based on how we think it will make us feel. And it's funny how we don't learn about emotions, and we kind of, our emotional life is limited to, I did well in school, therefore I'm proud. I failed, therefore I'm ashamed. I got married, therefore I'm happy. I got divorced, therefore I'm sad. Like, our emotional vocabulary and intelligence tends to be quite limited. So our goal needs to be at getting better at allowing negative emotions, but then also creating positive emotions. These are skills. So, you know, we as human beings, we have a lot of negative emotions. It's okay. There is no need to panic. There's a great movie called Inside Out. It's a Pixar movie. And at the end of the movie, the little character says, well, I guess I wouldn't know what a happy day felt like if I never had a sad day. And I'm crying and I'm pointing at the screen like, look at this Pixar character telling us about life. Exactly. If we were only ever having positive emotion, we wouldn't know we were having positive emotion. We need the contrast. So we need to allow our negative emotions. And the way that I like to do this as an activity with clients is really just observe them. And I like to pretend I'm describing them to an alien. Like really, like, because they don't know anything about our emotions, but, oh, tell me about your sadness. It's like, oh, it's a vibration in my body and it's blue and it's slow and it's in my chest and it's caused by the thought like I miss somebody. Like that's it. That's all sadness is. It's a vibration in my body caused by a thought. Crap, that's all it is. So notice it, allow it. And this is not the same as reacting to it, resisting it, pretending it's not there. It's just, you know, allowing it and making sure you're attributing it to a thought. I'm sad because I can't see my family right now. Notice that thought is creating this feeling of sadness. The thought is, this stinks. I miss them so much. That's all sadness is. It's a vibration in my body caused by a thought. So again, during the day, ask yourself, what am I feeling? Become aware of your emotions. What am I feeling? And then ask yourself, what does this feel like now? And just kind of step outside of yourself, compassionate observer of whatever I'm feeling. And then ask yourself, well, what do I want to feel? Deliberately. No, what do I want to feel? And how can I practice this feeling? So every day, I love to pick a feeling. So when I wake up every morning, I pick one emotion. Today, I want to be joyful. Today, I want to be purposeful. Today, I want to be calm. Today, I want to be present. Today, I want to be motivated. Today, I want to be loving. Today, I want to be grateful. And I decide that's my feeling for the day. And if I'm going to pick loving, then I better be picking loving thoughts all day. I better be feeling loving. I better be behaving loving. And it's fun to create the feeling you want intentionally versus thinking at the end of the day, this is how my day went. I'm satisfied or annoyed with how it went. What if I showed up satisfied? What if I started the day satisfied and I had my mindset in place and I wasn't waiting to see how the day goes? I showed up satisfied. I showed up compassionate. I showed up loving. This is so much more powerful and fun. So as you go about your day, get in the practice of allowing a negative emotion because it's there, and then deciding you've got the power to shift to a more powerful emotion anytime. I like to say I'm going to carry around my anxiety like a little backpack. I'm going to notice it. I'm going to allow it. And then I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to put on my superhero cape of confidence or joy or whatever positive emotion I want that day. And also, spoiler alert, once you stop feeling bad about feeling bad, half the feeling bad goes away. That's it. So much of our suffering is judging the fact that we're upset. So again, feeling negative emotion is much more pleasant if I'm not judging it. So if I'm depressed about my depression, if I'm angry about my anger, don't compound it. Let it flow through you. So once we get good at this and allow our negative emotions and create our positive emotions on purpose, it completely changes our experience with ourselves and everyone around us. Now, my biggest tip for emotional health, and this really solves everything in our lives, is love yourself unconditionally starting now. Amen. When we are not liking and loving ourselves enough, we get mad easily. We're defensive at others, at the world. When we easily like and love ourselves, it's so much easier to like our lives and the people in it. And at the end of the day, this is all we have. We have ourselves and what we think about ourselves. So we better like ourselves plenty. And if you haven't until now, that's okay. No need to beat yourself up or wish you had done this 10 years ago. You can decide right now, I love myself unconditionally. I respect myself. I value myself. And it's not a process. It's a decision. That's it, guys. I know it's like we think about this work and it's like, no, it's going to be a process. It's going to be I'm going to have to spend the next 3 years undoing the first 70 years. Nope. It is a decision. It is a choice to love yourself regardless of yourself. And once you're there, you can give that so easily to your children, to your grandchildren, to the staff, to any person you come in contact with. You know, I always think about other people, and I do think, I love you regardless of you. And that thought feels so good. There's nothing you need to do differently to earn my love. I love and I respect you out of the gate. Otherwise, I'm just judging people and wishing they were different so they could fit my idea of how I think people should be living their lives. Nope. I have no idea how anybody should be living their lives. I know how I should be living my life. So again, I love you unconditionally is the greatest gift you can give the people in your lives and yourself. So as a journaling suggestion, I would write down 20 to 25 things you like and appreciate about yourself. This gets our brain going in the right way. It could be a physical quality, an emotional quality, an achievement, a relationship you're really proud of. But this is a great starting exercise. And I love to joke with people who are like, oh, Buck, I'm never going to be able to come up with 20 things. And I say, yes, but if I told you to write down 20 things you didn't like about yourself, you would love to play that game. So again, write it down, keep it handy, remind yourself all day, every day that you are 100% lovable and worthy now by design, not decision. So your true power is going to be listening to yourself, caring for yourself, being great company for yourself. And it's not about who's not showing up for you. It's about you showing up for yourself all day, every day. And again, stop playing the should game. You know, your brain loves to tell you you should be better looking, you should be smarter, you should be richer, you should have had kids. You shouldn't have not had kids. I'm just being funny. But don't should yourself. I mean, that's a mental health pro tip. If your brain is telling you should, nope. Delight in yourself regardless of yourself. This is what our life looks like right now, and that's okay. Not loving it, not accepting it is just what makes it worse. So reminder to be a gentle, compassionate observer of yourself. Get in the habit of journaling. And another thing I like to tell people, and I'll leave you with this, is ask yourself a great question every day. Like if we're getting out of bed and we're asking ourselves, how are we going to get through the day? That question stinks. And the answers your brain's going to come up with stinks. So again, come up with an amazing question, gives your brain the cue, amazing answers. How can I show up loving today? How can I have so much fun today? How can I be a great example to my kids and grandkids today? How can I contribute to my community in a meaningful way? How can I like and love myself a little bit more today? Great questions, great answers. So I think that's all I have. I hope that was helpful. So direct your thoughts, practice your emotions, and give yourself great questions every day. And again, start with unconditionally loving. It's a decision and a choice, not a process. Yeah. Was that helpful? Was that fun?
Definitely was for me.
Yay.
Maybe I just scheduled this just for my own self.
I mean, we all need this. We all need this. It's so good. And again, there's a difference between listening to me and then actually doing it. So again, you're going to hear this. You're going to be like, that makes sense. But then if you're not doing it, it's not, you've got to write it down. You've got to make the decision to do the work, to see yourself differently, to feel differently, to behave differently, versus this was just a pep talk. And then tomorrow you'll be back to, nope, I like seeing the world the way I see it. No, what can I control? What can't I control? Gratitude, I got it. I can control my gratitude all day. My appreciation of myself, I can control that all day. I love that. So again, focus on what you can control and what you can contribute with the other stuff. The other stuff is the drama in your brain. And so I'm excited for you guys. And like I said, I've given you some journaling prompts to think about. But if you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'd love to be any source of support I can.
This is great. I did have one thing that I used to choose. I shouldn't have said that, but I used to choose my words, my 3 top words or whatever. I think you spoke on that the last time you did a group meeting. And do you go back at the end of your day, with your questions, when you ask yourself a question, how you want to show up today? And at the end of your day, do you go back and say, okay, I could have done this differently or whatever? Or kind of evaluated your day? Does that sound like a robot?
I love to. Yeah, I was a little, but I understood the gist of the question. Yeah. I love to go back. I love to start my day intentionally, and I love to finish my day intentionally. And so even if the day didn't, I set my day intentionally. I wanted to go a certain way. If it didn't go exactly the way I wanted to, that's okay. That's an opportunity for me to have an uncomfortable emotion of disappointment, allow it, notice it, and then peaceful. So I love any opportunity. Right. If I set my day intentionally, it goes according to plans, then I go to bed and it's yes, this was perfect. That again, nope. I'm setting my day intentionally. Some of it's going the way I planned. Some of it's not. When I assess it at the end of the day, I showed up hardworking and good-spirited. I did my best. It didn't go all to my liking, but that's okay. I also say, too, I don't have to like every day to love every day. Oh, my God. I love going to bed knowing I loved today. I showed up today. I won some. I learned some. It didn't look like I planned in some places, but in many ways it did. So, yeah, I love to go back and look at what and how it all shakes out the way it's supposed to shake out. So, again, and that's the truth. And the older we get, it is all, we worried all those years for nothing. It's all going to shake out the way it's going to shake out. So, again, I want to live deliberately. I want to live intentionally, but I also got my negative emotions okay that I can handle when they don't. So when it doesn't go according to plan, when another person doesn't meet my expectation that I wanted, I don't fall apart because of it. So if I don't get everything done on my to-do list that I wanted to accomplish, I don't beat myself up. I just try a little harder tomorrow. But again, I let it go easily. Again, it's funny when people say they live day by day, and I kind of say, no. You need to live moment by moment, because there's a lot between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. that can derail you. So every moment of every day is an opportunity to be grateful. Every moment is an opportunity to forgive yourself. Again, I'm on a diet and I ate something. Am I going to beat myself up, or am I going to forgive myself? I want to be loving to my spouse, but I said something really jerky. Am I going to beat myself up, or am I going to forgive myself? Again, life is moment to moment forgiveness of yourself and everybody around you. And then it's so lovely. Otherwise, we just have grudges, grievances, disappointments, all piled up versus my life went exactly how it was supposed to go. Even the 2 years I was drunk on the couch complaining about how terrible my life was going, I thank God every day for that version of myself. There was no way. I always say, messy me greatly informs thriving me. So again, it's not like there's a good version of me and a bad version of me. It's just me. And I've got great qualities and I've got terrible qualities. And I love all of them. Like, that's true self-acceptance and true self-love. I love it. I love it. So yeah, go look back, but don't beat yourself up. Just, compassion for whatever you did achieve that day. Well intended. Well, thank you guys. It was great seeing you. I love the opportunity to talk to everybody. So thank you. Hi, Emily. Hi, everybody.
Bye.
Hi,
Thanks, guys.